when the pandemic hit, schools had to pivot quickly to implement remote learning programs, train educators, and walk parents through this new process. Also making sure students didn't fall behind. Charter schools were able to make that transition smoothly for the most part, and some, like Somerset Silver Palms, took a giant leap forward in their response to the academic, social, and emotional needs of the families they serve. So today we're speaking with Kerri Ann O'Sullivan, principal of Somerset Silver Palms, a K-12 in Miami-Dade, and her daughter Maddi, a senior at that school. So they're going to take us through what it's like to be a principal and a student today, and how that team at that school worked tirelessly to give students that full school experience during a very challenging time. So welcome, Ms. O'Sullivan, and welcome, Maddi.
Thank you very much. We're happy to be here.
Thank you for chatting with us today. First, Kerri, will you give us a little background on yourself? I know you've been an educator for a long time and a school leader.
Sure, I'd be glad to. So I started my career as a teacher at Killian quite a few years ago. And from there, I went to help open up Coral Reef Senior as a teacher. I was promoted to assistant principal there. I spent 10 years there. And I was then promoted to principal at Homestead Senior. I spent about 5 years at Homestead Senior, and shortly thereafter, I had the great opportunity to change to charter. And I then went to a school in Orlando, a Somerset school, enjoyed my time there, returned to South Florida, worked in a Maddies school, and then I was lucky enough to join Silver Palms. And at that point, it was 2012. I came in November, and I have been here ever since. I love it. I don't plan to go anywhere else. We function much like a family. We have a very large staff, 3 campuses and 7 buildings. And I've been lucky enough to stay in one place for quite some time. So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. And could you describe the community you serve? Because it's quite unique.
Sure. Sure. So the 3 campuses are located within 2 miles of each other, just north of the Homestead Miami border. One school falls in Homestead and the other, or one campus falls in the Homestead zone, and the other 2 fall in the Miami zip codes. The population is somewhat diverse, a large Hispanic population, and then all of the other cultures and ethnicities we have here. We are free and reduced lunch. We're over 75% at all the campuses. And my staff is much a reflection of the students that we serve here.
Okay. Great, thank you. So Maddi, how long have you been a Somerset student?
I actually just transferred here February of last year, right before quarantine hit.
Okay. So I have to ask, how is it being a student at a school where your mom is the principal?
I like it. Now I can like talk to her because she knows like who I'm talking about. Like, if she asks about my day, she understands where I'm coming from. And now I can see her. I like seeing her throughout the day, just like walking to class.
Oh, that's great. So tell me about your senior year and how has that been? I know it's been challenging, but tell me about how the school has been able to give you all some kind of normal senior experience, or as normal as possible.
At first, it was like really hard just because soccer season started, but our games kept getting canceled because of Corona. But then games started happening, and like they had pep rallies for us. We still got to be able to see our friends. At first, Zoom was really hard, but like now that I can still be able to talk to my friends, like if some of us are at school or some of us are online, like we're all still in class together, we can all talk to each other. much easier.
Right. I love that. And Kerri, you have an interesting position because you're a parent.
Yes.
You're a principal. And how has being a parent influenced the decisions that you make as a school leader?
So that's a really interesting question. So I not only have Maddi as a senior here, I also have another child, a son who's a freshman. So I think it allows me to remain humble. It's very easy to make decisions as administrators when you have a book in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously there's an emotional and a human element to it. We all have it. It just comes quicker when you know that it's going to affect your own kids. I'm very lucky to have them here with me. They have two other brothers who did not go through my school, so we didn't get to experience that together. But this has been great. And I think on top of it, during such a trying time, it's nice to see them. It also allows me to relate to the parents that we serve.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different when a parent comes in and you're able to say, I do understand you, and my child sits next to your child in class, or something that will draw them and us as a connection. So some days are harder. I have an obsession with looking at their grades, and obviously I have to wear both hats. So I'm lucky to have administrators who recognize that also and will take that off of my plate. Excuse me. And so they'll work with Maddi if she's trying to pick classes and she's frustrated, or if she just wants another view. And they'll also work with my freshman, Clayton, who, sometimes wants to go to the bathroom more than necessary. So they're very helpful in that sense, my staff, so that I can play both roles and no one's really affected in a negative way.
Wonderful. So talk about a couple of the best practices that you and your team have implemented, because I saw your Facebook page from the last school year, and wow, you didn't skip a beat. There were visits to the students. You were putting signs on the teachers' lawns. You had virtual prom, the drive-through graduation. It seems that you were working harder than ever, but there was a rationale behind all that. Can you talk about
Sure.
outreach?
So one of the things I find lucky is that I live somewhat near the community, not directly in it. I'm not within a mile of the school, but I live very close. And so I think that helps because I see the kids around town, etc. When March came, we really didn't know what to do, like many others. We were deciding things on the turn of a dime, and we were affecting people's lives immediately, not only kids and families, but also our staff. And we have a large staff. We have 3,500 kids in all 7 buildings, and our staff is 300 plus. So the first thing that I did was not expect them to know how to Zoom overnight. I took a week and I explained to the staff that we're going to practice. And that was over spring break last year. And I did recognize that if people needed time off and they didn't want to practice during their time off, that was respectable. But everybody on the staff decided that they would Zoom with each other and practice before they were able to Zoom with their kids. So the first thing that really helped was we rolled out Zoom comfortably from a teacher's perspective. They were comfortable. So when they got on camera and parents saw that the teachers were comfortable, they tended to be less anxious. So that really helped. The next thing we did was try to figure out how to help the kids. And the seniors last year were the ones most affected. And we know that because they're the ones that are going to close this chapter or whichever chapter they're in and move forward and not look back. We weren't sure we would be able to hold graduation, so we started with putting their pictures on the wall outside of the school on 248th. And we had 121 seniors, and we created, I want to say it was like, 4 feet by 5 feet of posters of every kid. And with that, we had a company come in and actually secure them to the building. That was one great accomplishment, and not so much for me, but because when the kids drove by 248th Street and they saw that they really mattered. We know every kid matters, but they don't believe it. And so for them to see, they were in cap and gown, we took their senior pictures, and for them to see themselves on the side of the wall was quite impressive. So that reassured them that we knew they were seniors. You're not just like everybody else. We need to help you feel that way. Then one day I called the activities director in and I said, okay, we need to have a graduation. I don't know how, I don't know what the guidelines and parameters are, but we have to have a graduation. And so we took the time. It took us about 8 weeks to figure out how we were really going to do it. And we had a procedure in place by the time that graduation came where every kid could walk across the stage.
And the truth of the matter is we couldn't figure out a way to take care of the seniors last year. And we knew they were home. We knew they were hurting because they were missing all of their activities, including prom, senior breakfast, all of the things that they look forward to on their way out. And so I woke up one day and I said, we'll pull off graduation. I don't know how, but we'll pull it off. And I have a philosophy with the team that I usually can bring them together and say, okay, this is the end result. I'm not exactly sure how to get there, but together we can figure it out. So I called the activities director in and I said, what do you think about graduation and pulling off graduation? And of course, she was stunned, you know, how are we going to do that? But then she realized we can probably make it work. And so it took us 6 weeks, 6 full weeks to figure out what did we need, how could we appropriately follow the CDC guidelines, but yet give them what they so deserved after 13 years. And so the plan we came up with was we were going to do 3 waves of cars. And while the parents were driving up to the stage, we would time it perfectly so that the kids would walk across and the parents would be right in front to take pictures. And there were about 45 staff members who helped us. And we started at 8 in the morning and we hoped it didn't rain. And we went in 3 waves and we did it. It took us all day long. It was very hot. But we were able to work together as a team to make it happen. And it was one of probably the pinnacle of my career. Not to be selfish, however, I was determined to make sure that these kids were able to have what they deserved, and we pulled it off. We did it as a team. And I think everybody realized that no matter what people say, and no matter how many times people say it can't be done, it can be done. We just had to take the time to do it. And it took a lot of work, but it was worth every ounce of it. And those kids and parents were super grateful and obviously super thankful for what we did.
Absolutely. And it goes back to what you said earlier about, is it right for the kids? And absolutely, you moved mountains. And you're being very humble. I saw the video. There was news media out there. It wasn't just a drive-through graduation, but there was huge monitors projecting the students as they walked across the stage, a stage, balloons. I mean, you really outdid yourselves, because it wasn't just, hey, drive through, here's your roll of paper. You really made it a big deal, and the cap and gown, and your staff was in caps and gowns. And really, that was one of my favorite moments last May, because we all needed to see your graduation, whether we were invested in those kids or not. We needed to see that. So thank you.
Well, the funny part in the beginning was we couldn't decide where to hold it. And so the place where the parents would be, there were 3 trees in the way. And so I called the athletic director and I said, can you call the landscape company and cut them down? And so we cut 3 trees so that the stage and the parents had no barriers in their way. And so to this day, we kind of laugh about that, but it worked.
It
Yeah,
was.
you make it work. So thank you. And speaking of graduates, you also have done a great job with graduation rates and moving that school forward. Definitely, you serve a very unique population. It's a big mix, but you and your team have done a great job. Not only getting them to the finish line, but advanced, AP courses, dual enrollment. Um,
So we have a large population of our kids who are not only free and reduced lunch, but a Hispanic population that's large. And then we have obviously a mix of others. But we push them to at least try the advanced classes. At least try, see how you do. We'll provide you the help. We'll provide you the tutoring, whatever it is, but at least try. And so moving forward, we've created a large partnership with Doral College, and Maddie's part of Doral College. She could talk about that. And we have, our kids don't need to leave campus. And the other dual enrollment programs posed a bit of a problem for our kids because many of our kids don't own cars. And so to get somewhere would be quite difficult for them. So instead, we brought the program to them on campus. And we've been very, very successful in helping kids apply to the program and then take the classes. And the kids have been extremely successful. And the passing rate is high, and we're very proud of them. We're able to pay for their classes while they're in high school. I'm not sure if you want Maddi to talk about those.
Maddi, what's your experience with the dual enrollment program?
Most of my classes are dual enrollment. I like dual enrollment. I'm gonna graduate with, I think me and my mom had said like 40 something credits. So I only need a few more classes to get my AA already. So I'm happy that I'm ahead.
That's great. And it breaks that stigma, right? Can I go to college? What's college going to be like? Right? Because you've done it. You're like, oh, okay. Right?
Yeah.
Do you
At least I get a feel for the classes.
And do you feel like your friends and classmates feel the same?
Yeah, we all do a good job of like helping each other because most of us that are in dual enrollment, we're all in the same type of classes. So everyone's good at helping each other.
Beautiful.
One of the positives about the bringing the program to the kids, and especially now during the pandemic, is they have a lot of extra time on their hands, at least from what we have recognized. And so we have provided them something that will pique their interest. And with that extra time on their hand, they start to think, well, maybe I can do it. Maybe it's not so hard. It's not your traditional way, and neither is the pandemic. So this, for us, although we're obviously not happy during the pandemic, for us, it's been, and for our kids, it's been, this part has been a positive for them.
Okay.
So we're very lucky.
That is great. So back to Maddi, and a young scholar and athlete. You're not only doing great in school, I think you have to with your mom being a principal, but you're also doing great on the soccer field. You were recently recognized by your soccer team. You want to brag a little bit about that?
It was for my senior game. Our season isn't over yet, but it was like our last home game.
Okay.
It was a pretty big deal. For me, it just like, it's upsetting knowing that it's finally ending. And we just came back from Coral Shores and we made, I don't know what the right word is, like, we're going to districts in first place, and we just found that out on Friday. So
congratulations.
We're excited.
Oh, that's great. What a great way to end your this and go on. So that's another thing, because the sports are important, and you worked really hard, Kerri, to get that going again. You talked about kids having time on their hands, and they needed it. They needed to go back on the field.
So I'm a big believer in taking up kids' times, whether it's through athletics or if the student or child is not really into athletics, and providing them another outlet like clubs and things like that. So over the summer, we were preparing for August, and we recognized that we wanted to try as hard as we could to open sports and bring them back. We have a large population of kids who are athletes, and they needed to be out of their house even for a little bit of time, and they needed that team feeling. So I went to the board with a plan, and it probably wasn't perfect at first, but we were able to take the time to go back and readjust the plan. With all of the CDC guidelines in place, I presented to the board what I felt would keep our kids safe, but also take up some of their time and give them a chance to get out of their house. Mm-hmm. And the board approved the plan, and we started with volleyball and with football. And we brought them in groups, small groups, and then we ran them through much of what could probably be called rotations. And so everybody wasn't on campus during the summer at the same time. We implemented the masks, the social distancing, and those sort of things. And fast forward to now in December, we provided the kids with a full football season, volleyball, soccer, basketball, we're in the middle of right now. And I'm proud to say that I think that has helped the kids, not only physically, but mentally. It's been a real challenge for the kids, both at home and even when they came back to school. And they're proud of the teams that they're on. And I fought really hard. There were groups in the community, including at the district level, through Miami-Dade, that didn't want to open sports. For whatever reason, I'm sure they have their reasons. But as a principal, I felt that was very important. And I fought hard. And I had the coaches in on what was expected of them, and it worked. And the kids were happy to be able to do that. And Maddie's a product of that. Mm-hmm. We made sure that they had an outlet other than staying home and working on Zoom. And I'm very proud of that.
And that goes through what we were talking about, your role as a mom, as a parent, and as a school leader, because you see both sides. You see the whole child and what they need, and you see what moms need. Parents also want them out a little bit, not just in front of the computer. So talking about the pandemic, what surprised you the most about, as a school leader, about your kids and your team? Because we keep talking about the kids, but your team was also stepped up.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, they always look to the principal for answers, but the truth is we're only as good as who's next to us. And that really is the truth. I mean, it sounds so cliche, but that is the truth. So what surprised me the most? It didn't surprise me that my team stepped up. They are, everyone on the leadership team, there's about 18 of us, and then I have about 300 staff members. Everybody recognized that we were all struggling at the same time, and we all needed to pull some sort of weight. What did surprise me the most, and in reflecting, I'm actually a little disappointed. I'll speak for myself, is that for the last, I would say 10 years, all we focused on, or I'll say 90% of the time, we focused on testing. And how are we going to get testing and get an A? And that's what we focused on. And now, humbling myself, I've had to recognize that it really doesn't matter what grade the school is if we don't have a healthy staff, because we can't provide for kids. Mm-hmm. No matter how many days I want to go to work, if I have half of the staff out, it's not going to work because I can't teach for all of those people. So the surprising part, I think, is that we've now taken the time to change our focus. And so I start off every email and every faculty meeting by Zoom with some line as to, we hope you're healthy and how can we help you? Mm-hmm. If you're someone in need, you have somebody at home who's ill, you can't find wipes, you can't find Lysol, we'll deliver it to you. And that's the truth. We've done it. We're proud of it. I'm sure many other schools have done the same as we have. We're really not any different. We've just changed our focus. And thankfully, we've had a healthy staff. They take care of themselves and they take care of our kids in the classroom. And when there's an upset parent who's nervous, they also take care of the parent as well. So I'm very lucky with who I have on my immediate team and also who we have in the classrooms and cleaning and security and clerical. I'm very, very lucky.
That's beautiful. And then Maddi, what have you seen with yourself and then your classmates, how the adjustment went and what surprised you?
I mean, I didn't really expect the school year to go the way that it went in terms of like, I didn't expect to have our pep rally still and be able to like go to lunch and see all of my friends not having to worry about, oh, you have first lunch, I have second lunch. Like, I thought it was going to be more strict, but it ended up not really being that way. And I'm glad because it's my senior year and I just want to be able to have everything that every other senior has had.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry if I could add to that. So I think, and listening to Maddi talk, it's so interesting because I don't always see her throughout the day if she comes to campus. But what's quite interesting too is our kids, even from the kindergarten, pre-K level, our kids have adapted without trouble. They get out of their cars with their mask on and they're already putting their hands out because they know we're going to give them hand sanitizer. So for us, we haven't had to be that strict, constant, on top of the kids as much as we're able to watch.
Mm-hmm.
If there's an issue, we help. If somebody forgets a mask, we have 4,000 extra. We're well prepared, as I'm sure many of our schools have been, so that we can help the kids because we know that they want to be on campus. So it's allowed us not to have to run the building in a way that's maybe nerve-wracking to kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of a partnership, and the kids have recognized in order to stay safe, these are the things you have to do.
Absolutely. And it's a testament though, Kerri, to the culture you developed at that school.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
It's about trust. And you know that with the parents and the kids and the teachers, it is about trust.
And I do believe that some of the things we did before we opened up is we Zoomed with the parents. On one call, we had over 1,000 parents and they're nervous. We recognized they were nervous. And so if we could help provide, as you said, that trust, and don't worry, we're going to take care of your kids. Our own kids go here. We want everybody to be safe. And if we could provide that two-way street, we felt like we could do a better job. And so we Zoomed multiple times before we opened. And then, as you know, being out there to receive kids with our own masks on, and opening doors and providing them with hand sanitizer. Those are the things parents want to see. They're not interested in what's happening in math class yet.
Yes.
They first want to see their kids are safe.
Yeah.
So we've been fortunate that we have that two-way street with our parents.
That's beautiful. The last question I'm going to ask you both is, what advice do you have for charter school principals and for students during these hectic times? I don't know if
Maddi, do you want to start?
Maddi, do you want to start? What advice for freshmen, juniors, sophomores?
Honestly, the only thing I really would say is like high school goes by really fast. And as much as you may want it to be done while you're in high school, now that I'm getting to the end of it, it's like you're realizing that you're going to start in a whole different type of environment in a couple months. So I would just say to have fun in high school.
Yeah.
For myself, I would probably say I'm a risk taker.
Mhm.
And the charter system has allowed that to flourish in my case. And for me, no is not an option. We live by the rule at Silver Palms and at the high school and at Princeton that if it's right for kids, then nothing's going to stop us.
Mhm.
And graduation was a testament to that last year. Everybody said, we won't do graduation. It can't be done. It can be done the proper way with planning, because it was right for kids. And I was going to stop at nothing to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's beautiful. Well, thank you both for joining me and for sharing your stories. I'm always impressed with the things that are happening at in your campus, Kerri. And thank you for letting us have a sneak peek and into your family life too. Thanks, Maddi. I can't wait to your graduation. See what your mom comes up with.
We're working on it now. And then thank you for having both of us. We appreciate your time.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, Maddi.